So, as it turns out, everything I have in here has been talked about in one way or another by somebody else over the course of the past couple of days. I'm going to take that as hopefully a good sign. So, and I also want to thank you for voting for me and giving me an opportunity to tell my story. So, this is what I promised, and this is what you voted on, so this is what I'm going to deliver. But this is a ridiculous amount of stuff to do in 12 minutes. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how I found my idea and sourced the data, how I validated the concept with an MVP that was not software. 3 key things that I did to achieve 100K last year, and I didn't do any paid advertising that worked. And 2 big mistakes that I made that set me back 18 to 24 months, and what I do differently. I am distinctly non-technical. I come from a sales background. I'm an auctioneer. I'm a real estate auctioneer. I sell commercial real estate. And so if you take anything from this, what I want you to take is that most of you in this room already have more skills than I do. And so if you're not, to get in this kind of business, to get this kind of business done, a SaaS business. And so if you're not already where you want to be, or if you're not already making a living with it, then maybe what you take away from this is if that guy can do it, then I can do it too. If you are already making more than that, then maybe I'll give you some seed or a nugget that you can take away. So about the headline, what's that mean? 6 figures, 2012, I did just over $100,000 in sales, and you can see that's my traffic in the green and the sales in the blue. And then I had I was running another business, the commercial real estate auction business, and I quit that in September. It's kind of a golden handcuffs situation, to be quite honest, and so to leave that took, and I've got kids, and we'll get into that, but it took a big leap. So, but 100K, is that a lot of money? It's not really that much money, but what it means is that I can be free. I don't have to work for anybody. I don't have any boss and no clients and nobody's schedule, and it really only comes from product revenue. I've had clients for a long time, but you can't get the kind of freedom that I'm talking about without selling products. And so that's really the deal, because I'm not now beholden to 1 or 2 or 10 clients who make my whole year, which is the way that it was. But instead, I've got hundreds of paying customers, which also brings some security, which I'm going to get into in just a minute. So this is when I started the auction business. The auction business is counter-cyclical. This is not my revenue. Instead, this is the commercial real estate property price index. And so I kind of got in just before you would expect an auctioneer might be required, right? So, but what that meant is that I spent a lot of time looking for clients because nobody really needs you right there. So what I decided to do was start a commercial real estate brokerage, which if you're I'm from Boston, and so we'd say that's wicked smart. And it didn't go well. So what happened was, I spent really a lot of time just, we're hiring agents and we're training them and we're trying to do our own deals. And then in June of 2009, just my whole sales pipeline just died. I want to say shit the bed, so I'm going to say it. And so I guess the reason that I tell you all this is because when I started building my current project, I wasn't fooling around. I wasn't going to see if this would work. I wasn't going to try and make some money on the side. I was committed. I had 1 child already at a year and a half old. I had another one in the oven. I had my wife was at home. I had money just flying out the door because of I've had 2 bad business decisions. I'm only going to tell you about one. And so at this, I was committed. So here's what happens when you commit, though. And I want to point out that before this, I'm listening to Rob, and Mike, and podcasts, and learning all that I can, but I'm not doing anything. And so shortly after this implosion, I came up with my MVP, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. And then I worked like a bastard for about 6 weeks, 3, 4 o'clock at night all the time. And then I shouldn't say launch, I kind of leaked onto the scene on September 1st. And then by October, I had my first sales and had made like $142 for that month. So I could almost pay my iPhone bill. So, so in the real estate market, I'm going to talk about the product a little bit now. So in the real estate market, when it crashes, we know that banks, they are kind of in first position. So I don't want to get too deep into all how that works, but suffice it to say what happens is that this guy has a lot to sell, and so do 7,000 other banks in the U.S., and so do 7,000 other credit unions, because they've got to clean up. They've got to clean up their books. So if you're in the business that I was in, then this is the only show in town. So so what I had been doing during the run-up was sort of learning about how to know who my best customers would be in the bank space. And so I started digging into this data, and I found all this free public data. And so they file financial reports on a quarterly basis. They're called call reports. And what I did is I learned how to make sense of that call report and the data in it in order to determine who my best possible clients would be. So fast forward 2 rebuilds later, and now it's going to be 4 years in August. And basically, it's 3 APIs. I've got a SOAP API to the FFIEC, which is where I get my bank data. I use LinkedIn and Jigsaw. I put it all together, I put some charts on it, and then people pay me to get access to it so that they can find the people that they want to talk to at the places where they're going to buy the various assets. So what I want you to take away from that is that there's a whole bunch of data out there, and it's growing all the time, and it's getting more open. And there are businesses out there who can use that data to make real business decisions, to make money. And if it's people like us who can find that data, we can present that data, and I think there's a huge opportunity as we're going forward and more of this becomes available in those niches to provide a real business value. I told you I was going to tell you about my minimum viable product. This is super secret, so yeah, I appreciate if it doesn't leave here. I downloaded a CSV of the free public data. I did a mail merge into a Word document and turned it into a PDF. And then I asked for $150 for it on a page. And I sent some targeted traffic to it, and people bought it. And you can look at that and be like, why would anyone do that? But I was giving them what they wanted in a way that they could consume it really easily. So they just come buy reports, and it was like a 500-page PDF, and they'd pay me $150 for it. Ran that for a couple of weeks, and I was satisfied. So it's not rocket science. And I think it's easy for us to say, well, it's not really going to work in my market, and my people wouldn't buy that. This kind of thing. But I think we should hesitate to just go out and just start building and doing complex solutions when you can do something like a PDF and get paid. So 3 keys that got me to 100,000 last year were I opened up the data. I think I learned this from Patrick, and the bingo card creator. But what I did was I'd had everything behind a paywall. And so I have all these thousands of institutions and reports. And so what I did was I took down the wall except for only the things that absolutely needed to be protected. And I did it right there. And you can see what happened to my traffic after that. Is it just went right up. All my traffic's it's either organic, direct, or mostly a lot of email at this point. The other thing that I did is real estate is a big niche with huge players, and so go out there and talk about real estate investing. You're not getting anywhere. But if you're going to talk about a list of banks in Alabama that have REO, which is an acronym for it's bank-owned property essentially. That's a whole different thing. The other thing about this is that nobody's Googling for some kind of sales intelligence software for banks. It just doesn't exist. There's no keyword count that you can do for my product. And so what I did instead is I talked around the problems and the solutions that I knew that these people would have who would be interested in using a tool like I had. So I think everybody should go home and make an email MiniCourse, because it seems like everybody comes up and talks about that. 62% of my customers buy after they go through a 14-day free email MiniCourse. And in that email MiniCourse, I give away the farm. I show you where to find the data. I show you how to download it. I give you a video so you can see where the Excel sheet is. I tell you what everything means in it. And still, people go through all that, and then at the end of it, they pay me because what I have is better. They don't even necessarily need it anymore, but it's much more convenient and it saves them a lot of time. And so at the end of that, people trust me. I'm an authority, and so I'm not selling at that point. I'm just letting them buy. So let people buy. This is when I did the free course. 2 big mistakes that I made that cost me 18 to 24 months. This one, I couldn't believe how many times people said this, but does anybody have this, shiny object syndrome? But nobody's shown it on a chart. So here's what it looks like on a chart. I'm going along, and you can see, let's see how this goes. You can see right here, it's starting to go pretty good, and then think, oh, I'm almost at 4,000 a month. I should definitely start an affiliate niche site, because that's cool, and I won't have to do any work. There won't be any customer support, and so easy. And then, oh wow, Twilio, that's awesome. I love how I should build a mobile marketing app is what I should do right now. And this just doesn't make any sense. It was off mission. I didn't know what I was doing. None of these things didn't go anywhere. They cost me money and time, and you can see what it cost. And that was based on when I bought the domains and ended the contracts. So Rob's been talking about this a lot. I was bad with contractors. They released finally an API, so I didn't have to go get these CSVs and import them into the database and everything. And so I hired a new developer to do it, and I should have fired him, and I didn't. And I just let the thing go on, and so I could make my niche site or whatever. And so if you're hiring contractors, then when you start to see a problem, just shut it down. I found the problem, right? So I have all these things that kind of went wrong. And none of the challenges that I told you about, though, were external. So there wasn't like I didn't get panded or penguined. The market wasn't bad. It wasn't anything like that. It was 100% internal. And so I think what you have to do is constantly refocus so that you can know what you're doing. Because otherwise, it looks something like this, and you're going along, and you're like, ooh, what's over here? And maybe I should, maybe I should sell real estate and do that. So how do we get rid of this? And the best way that I know is with goals, which maybe a lot of people are going to groan when you see that. But I want to tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to wrap up. So the other font not there. So I found one of these. I recently moved. In August I moved, and I found one of these, and it was dated November 2012. So it was a book from the future in my handwriting. And so I opened it up, and I started going through it, and then I realized that it was a goal writing exercise that I had done 5 years prior, where I had written everything down. I had written down goals, like 2 pages of goals in the positive personal present tense, which is the way that you're supposed to write goals like that. And 90% of them had come true. And the parts that hadn't come true were places where it wasn't a priority in my life anymore. And so, it may sound silly or trite or whatever else, but if you're not writing, setting, tracking, and pursuing goals, then you should do that. The way that I stay focused now is I have these huge Postit Notes, and they're plus size. And so I have my mission. I work at a stand-up desk, and so I've got my mission over here, and I've got some key objectives, and then I have the tasks that are most immediate and pressing over here. And the reason that I want to bring this up is because I don't have really like a social media presence or anything like that. I didn't know anybody in here, and y'all voted for me to do this. And the only reason that I know that you might have done that, or the only edge that I could think that I might have, is that I had set a goal to become better known in the local and legitimate online business communities for this year. And then the rest just kind of fell into place. So that's it.
Awesome.
Thanks.